Hello YouTube, it's itskaygee and welcome to another video. Today we are doing an episode of TMI. There's more information. TMI is a series on my channel where I'm giving myself the open and free space to talk about topics that are affecting me and my mental health as I'm growing without any judgment and without any need for a positive conclusion. A lot of times on YouTube, if you're bringing up something negative, you better have a solution, and I just don't yet. And I know a lot of you guys don't either, so maybe we can work through some of these issues together. I don't know what this video is going to be called. I have to figure out how I can get the YouTube algorithm to work with me, but I would like to talk to you guys today about how life repeatedly just isn't what you think it's going to be. We are joined here today with Dunkin' Donuts. I have my small iced matcha latte made with oat milk, a pump of vanilla, and light ice. I also had a croissant earlier, but now we are down to just 2 stuffed bagel bites. So, as I finish up my breakfast, I just want to come on real quick and chat about life. I'm 23 for reference, and I've just realized lately that my life is just not what I ever thought it would be. Like, I have this prompt in my head a lot of, what if I could take this video, like a video of this moment, and time travel the video with a projector or something to, the past. And I would think like, oh, if I could send MLK's speech to the past, they would like all flip out, stuff like that. But I also think of, what if I could send these past videos to myself? What would former me think of current me's situations? And I don't want to believe that I would be disappointed, but this just isn't the life I saw myself living necessarily. It's not completely removed, but it's just not what I imagined. And sometimes that's good, but sometimes it's really not all that bad of a thing. It just is that life changes. My birthday is in November, so I'm coming up on turning 24, and I'm just scared of that transition. Well, I have been scared to turn 24 because I just don't feel like I have the qualifications of a 24-year-old, or of what I thought I would be when I was 24. I don't have a long-term boyfriend, fiance, husband character. I am absolutely not ready to think about starting having children. My career is not where I thought it would be. I'm not living in my penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. I am not driving the fancy car. I don't have a cute dog. Things are just not, they're just not. And it's becoming more and more common with people. I really hate this term, but it's the only accurate way to talk about it. So with people in my and the previous generation, it's becoming more and more common for us to not really live up to our expectations of ourselves in such a life milestone way. I think everyone kind of has a plan, and then they get going and that plan kind of changes. But the millennial Gen Z reality has been very much like, you watched your mom do this, you watched your dad do this, you heard about your grandparents. Well, you didn't watch them, but you heard about them doing it, you heard about your grandparents doing it, your aunts, your uncles, people on TV. Everybody had their life lined up in this pretty little line. And so we were all like, okay, that's how life goes. Got it. And then we got here and we were like, I'm sorry. How am I supposed to accomplish any of these things when grapes are $10? You see what I'm saying? So it just, 10-year-old me probably has a notebook or a vision board or something somewhere of who she thought 24-year-old me would be. Even 14-year-old me 10 years ago when I was first starting high school. You start high school, at least I did, my peers did. We were in the gifted program. We had been since elementary school, so it was pretty drilled into us that you start high school with very clear intentions and goals. You're trying to do the best things possible to get into the best college possible, to get the best job possible, to secure the best life possible. So high school felt in the moment like I was planning for the rest of my existence. And I didn't really question at the time how it is that a 14-year-old makes the decisions that a 50-year-old will never be able to like come back from. How it was that my life would basically be done and set in stone by the time I was 18. I really just didn't have the bandwidth to think that through at the time. But now I'm finding, especially with the internet and being able to hear other people's stories in a more live way, you know, not my 50-year-old mom recounting back to the good old days with, you know, clarity on what happened, but someone in the moment, a 38-year-old who's 38 that very day, telling me what being 38 is like. It seems, and I know that this is a very obvious revelation, but it's a revelation that you kind of have to have at some point. Life keeps going. Society is really set up in like after 25, maybe 30, your life just, I don't know, like you just do the same thing every day and you just like barely exist. You know, you've got all these things to look forward to when you're young, your next birthday, graduating into the next grade or the next school system. What college are you going to go to? What are you going to wear to prom? There's all this stuff to do. And in your early 20s, that's when you're supposed to get the husband, the house, the kids, and the career together and, you know, finish building your white picket fence. And after that, there's no more like assessed milestones. There's nothing else you're supposed to do or talk about. Someday you turn 50 and you have a big birthday party, and when you turn 65, you cross your fingers and see if your kids send you to a retirement home or if they take care of you themselves. And that's really it. There's nothing else that is supposed to happen in those ages, or that you're supposed to look forward to, or that you're supposed to plan for. And so in doing all of this planning for my early 20s, and then getting to my early 20s and realizing that the planning ain't even the plan anymore, it's been a little crazy. I just think back for a second. Think with me. Who did 14-year-old you think that you right now would it be? Because I can run you through my whole life and the series of plans and the changes. We start in preschool. That is probably my earliest memories. And I didn't really have any plans or any vision. I was just vibing. I was just there to have fun. It wasn't until 3rd grade that my desire for something was, you know, something that was going to change the way that my life proceeded for the next many, many years. In 3rd grade, certain children in class got chosen to go to gifted. I thought gifted was special ed. I thought that they were, you know, had learning disabilities and needed the help that way. So I wasn't really concerned with gifted until I heard this one boy who I knew was very, very smart was in gifted. Because then I was like, well, how did he get all these good grades before now if he wasn't getting special ed help before now? This was 3rd grade me. How old are you in 3rd grade? 5 and 6 in kindergarten, 6 and 7 in 1st grade, 7 and 8 in 2nd grade. So I was 8 or 9 years old, being like, the math isn't mathing on the smart kid being in gifted. So he did a little investigating and found out that gifted is actually special ed in reverse. Instead of needing help with learning, rather they learn things so quickly that they need help not getting bored, basically. And so in 3rd grade, I decided that I wanted to get into gifted. Didn't know how I was going to accomplish that, but I was getting in. Yes, ma'am. And so I did just that. In 5th grade, took the gifted test, got in. You know, and that ended up changing what I did for schooling for the rest of my time in school, because my school system was very much on tracks. The gifted kids stayed in the gifted classes with the gifted teachers and the other gifted kids, and we hardly ever spoke to the honors kids or to the college prep kids or to the special needs kids or to anybody else, really. It was just our little compact circle of existence. So I knew the same people K through 12 basically, because we were all in gifted for most of the time. So it changed who I interacted with and how I learned, how school went. And I guess after some more consideration, some more time in gifted, I decided that I wanted to pursue a prestigious career. Didn't know what that meant, but I knew I wanted to go to college. I don't know that that was like a conscious decision, or more so like everybody goes to college, so that's just what I accepted for myself. But I knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew I wanted to do something big, and I was suspecting that I might want to get a master's or a PhD or something saucy like that. So I'm gonna skip middle school. Not much happens, I'm just middle schooling it up. By high school, I've already done enough art in my day to have decided that that is the career I'm gonna pursue. Still gonna go to college. Still pondering the PhD. Not really sure what I would do with it, but I know I want to do art. I know I want to focus on art. And it was kind of linear. All K through 12. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. It was all the same. I knew I wanted to be a school kid. I knew I wanted to do something prestigious. I knew I wanted to be like the big dog and like make good money and have lots of degrees on my wall. I always liked art. I knew I was good at it. I knew I wanted to pursue it. And I knew only like the 100 kids that I knew who were in gifted. And that was my life for ages 5 to 8, 10, 15, 16, 18, 13 years. I'm really bad at math. Me getting into gifted was quite a question considering my math grades. But for 13 years, the path I saw for myself was exactly the same. And I graduated high school. Well, no, that's a lie. I went into senior year of high school, convinced that I was going to pursue something in the arts field. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a professional artist, but it was in my mind. But I knew I was going to be creating. I knew that for sure. I was going to be painting. I was going to be drawing. Like I was going to be that tactile girly. And I was thinking that maybe I might move to LA, maybe Atlanta, just somewhere big city vibes where I could really progress as an artist. So I started applying to colleges. And this is when things in my plans finally stopped going to plan at this point. I didn't want to take out loans. I didn't. Okay, this also goes in line with the 13 years of consistency. Another thing that was consistent the whole time is once a year, my parents would take us to the outlet mall to do our school shopping, like for new clothes. We'd only go once a year, and we would have a relatively low spending limit, like $100. So we could only get a couple pieces. And so I was always kind of adverse to spending money, and I very much still am. So the idea of taking out tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, to go to college when I couldn't even spend $50 on jeans just wasn't sitting right with me. So I knew loans weren't gonna be it. So I applied to all these colleges, and I fully expected to get a scholarship or two that would be enough money that I wouldn't really have to worry about it. And basically I expected to get a full ride. I had good grades, I did all these clubs, I did the whole thing for the 4 years. I got good SAT scores, I had good art. I did all of this while applying to art school. So I'm like, girl, art school people aren't always education people, aren't always 3.8 GPA people, aren't always presidents of clubs and associations people. I was like, I have the leg up because I have good art and good grades. I'm definitely gonna be getting my scholarships. And I did. I applied and I got scholarships. Some are $10,000. I think my highest scholarship offer was from MICA, a college I was kind of excited about because it seemed like they really wanted me. And they offered me $24,000 or $25,000 a year. The issue with that was that MICA was in Maryland, And so I would need to pay for room and board. And so tuition plus room and board was about $200,000 a year. So the $25K wasn't really gonna cut it. And this was the first time my plans didn't go to plan. I almost didn't end up going to college because you apply to colleges, you wait to see what they say. And so I applied to art schools and I waited to see what they said. And, we had talks with our counselors about your reach school, your appropriate school, and your safety schools. So I applied to my safety. And given my grades, my extracurriculars, my history and everything, me and my counselor were pretty much in agreement that my safety school was University of Georgia, which is Georgia's flagship. That was my safety. My regular, I could meet it, were Mercer, University of Ohio, University of Michigan, some art schools as well. And then my reaches were your Yale, your Cal Arts, you know what I'm saying? So I applied to UGA thinking that was my safety because that's what my counselor told me and that's what the statistics told me, but that is not what UGA told me. They said, my dear, deferred, and I did not have an acceptance letter from a college that I could afford to go to. And we're pretty much right on application deadlines because, again, deferring is the last thing that UGA does. So they've already accepted everybody, and I get deferred late into the process. So at this point, I don't have any other that was my last chance, and they didn't accept me. So I'm okay, the deadline passes. Your girl is not going to college. The plan was very, very close to derailing. But I applied to 2 more safety schools. One of them I didn't get it. I'm not saying it's giving racism. I'm just gonna put that out there and let you assume what you want to assume. The other one I got in and I have a scholarship. So that's where I ended up going. But that was the first big derailment of my plans. I was not the big smart school girly. I was not getting that full ride that I thought I was going to be getting, especially being in gifted, watching a good majority of my peers get their full rides to Howard and Vanderbilt and UCLA and all over the place. And I'm over here barely squeezing my way into rinky-dink university. It just wasn't what I envisioned. Not at all. And it was pretty disappointing. It took me several years, honestly, to get past mentally that level of disappointment. And that the thing I felt like I had been working on for at least 4 years, more probably 13 years, just didn't come to me, and there was nothing I could do about it. After college, my plans continued to change. That was just the tip of the iceberg of my plans, not planning. And so I got to college. I was a drawing and painting major, but I knew I wanted to get internships in animation because those are jobs you can get hired for, you get a salary, it's more logical. So that was my goal. And my college was in Atlanta, so it was all the animation companies are right here. I can just walk from campus to my internship. This will be perfect. And in doing my drawing and painting major, I realized I did not want to be a professional artist. I realized it's not just drawing and painting all day. It's marketing yourself, and that is just not something I desire doing. So again, my plans were changing. My lifelong dream of being an artist was just kind of eroding away. And this plan change wasn't a bad thing. I still think back sometimes on the gallery shows that I envisioned myself hosting. This was the vision, typically. It was me doing a big gallery show where for some reason it was appropriate for me to wear a fancy dress and heels. It was a red carpet event, and I was bringing my husband to come see my art, and instead of me being the trophy wife for the night, he was the trophy husband, and I was showing everybody my work, and my pieces were selling for tens of thousands of dollars, and it was a whole one thing about me, I'm an imaginative girl, hence the animation degree. There's a lot going on up here at all times. So it was a whole scenario that was just eroding away. And it's sad that I don't get these end result, the end scenario, but I know the steps that it would take to get there is just not something I'm interested in. And it's just, I don't know if it's a testament to the way that the United States is set up or to like me being an idiot, but literally 13 years of progress eroded away after like a semester of classes and realizing actually I don't want to do this. And so I ended up transferring schools so that I could get an animation degree, which I did end up doing, spoiler alert. And come, sophomore, junior, senior year of college, it's time to get internships. I'm no longer in Atlanta, but I'm still like, you know what, I'll make the drive, I'll make it work, I'll figure it out. I can get an internship at an animation studio and start, preparing for my life. So I sent my little applications with my art and my grades and all that. We regret to inform you that we move forward with a different candidate over and over and over again. It was kind of like college rejections, but those weren't rejections. Those were just, school cost $1,000 and we're willing to give you 5 cents. That was kind of what was happening with college. Internships was a whole nother thing because I wasn't even accepted. It's not like I was accepted under terms I couldn't accept. I just wasn't accepted at all. Over and over and over again. I didn't count my internships. We'll get to what I counted later. I didn't count my internships, but I applied to every single studio in Atlanta. That was, more than a one-person operation. Any studio that actually wanted to hire someone. I applied to every single one. Every single semester. And I never got an internship. And, it was discouraging. But it was also like, what am I supposed to do? I'm not getting them, so what am I supposed to do? That's it. More times that people aren't picking me and my plans aren't going to plan because not everything is in my control. And then 2020 came along. This is my senior, I graduated college early, so I'm senior, junior, middle, it all gets mixed up. But this is the end of my college career. 2020 occurs. And I feel like this was divine intervention, considering doing a TMI on my religious beliefs, since I said that. But anyway, I feel like this was some kind of cosmic power coming to me and saying, look, bitch, you don't seem to be getting it. You don't pick what happens in this life. This life picks what happens to you. And so 2020 came and said, all the little plans that you thought you had about your little internship and your little summer travel and your little going to school and your little graduation and all of that is gone. We're done. It's over. Hang it up. It's not happening. And I don't care. That's kind of the energy that 2020 was giving me. It was giving, shut the fuck up and take what the universe is willing to give you, which as of right now is nothing. And we all experienced 2020. I don't think I need to explain that. I ended up graduating in December of 2020. And this is when I started counting. Because in December, not even, in October, because you're supposed to start before you graduate. So in October, I started applying for jobs. And I am no longer tied to Georgia. That's another thing that changed as I went on. I always liked Georgia growing up. It's a cute place, like the suburbs. Wanted to raise my little family with my little white picket fence and my little golden retriever in a little suburban house in Georgia. But 2020 was such a personal and politically radicalizing time that the liberal in me kind of lit on fire and I became like a leftist extremist to the point where I was applying to jobs internationally because I was like, look, America kind of going in the toilet, so if I could get out of here, like that would be ideal. I was applying to jobs worldwide, all across the US and all across the world because I just didn't even care. Reality was not giving. I just wanted to leave. So I was applying to any and everything that I could find. And like I said, this is when I started counting. Because for the third time now, one of my major plans was not going to plan. This is another bad one though. I stopped counting after 300, but I applied to, as you heard, hundreds of jobs in animation, at studios, at startups, at small companies that just wanted to do one little project, any and everywhere that I could. Hundreds of jobs. And I couldn't even get an interview. I recognize it was 2020, but again, I graduated in December, so it was pretty much 2021 for a good deal of this application time. And we got to about 5-6 months after me graduating, and I still didn't have a job. And I was like, what's going on? And I figured maybe it was because I graduated in December. Maybe they're looking for a lot of new grads in the summer because most people graduate in May or June or whatever, depending on what state you're in. So once summer came around, I was like, okay, now surely I will get a job. And I was still applying. May passed, no offers. June passed, no offers. I said, okay, y'all are playing with me. Y'all are absolutely playing games with me. This was the time as well, December of 2020, that I broke up with my long-term boyfriend and that my parents began their separation process. And somewhere in there, Beyonce got cheated on. So my faith in men was crumbling rapidly. And that whole idea of being married by 23, 24, 25 just swirling itself down the toilet. I cannot, like, oh my God, it fell apart. That needs to be a video of its own because it's been a progress to put the building blocks back down and get myself back at a point where I have some semblance of faith in humanity. Crumbling girl. So I'm like, okay, I can't get a job. I am not with my boyfriend anymore. So the whole, we're gonna get married, we're gonna move in together, live there for a year, and then get married. That ain't happening. It was just a series of things that I was like, you know what? I don't even like it here. I'm too left-leaning and too black to be living in Georgia right now. It's time for me to go. So without a job, because I couldn't get one, I up and moved to Los Angeles. Y'all know the story if you've been here for a while. I up and I moved. This wasn't exactly against my plans. I kind of envisioned myself living in LA, living the big city life at some point. But definitely the way I got here, the way how I'm not living in the middle of the city in a high-rise apartment, like it's definitely tweaked from my original plans. And so I moved here, started applying outside of anime. Well, this wasn't the start, but I apply outside of animation, finally get a job, this, that, and the third. And now I'm 23. Been out of college for 2 years, which is crazy to me because it feels like time is going too fast. It feels like time is running away from me. And I'm not really ready for time to run away from me. And as my plans are changing, both intentionally and by force of the universe, and as I'm changing as a person, I don't know. I don't have a conclusion to that sentence. It's just so weird to me because I spent so long in the same place. Really, K through 12, there was no stimuli. There was no anything substantial to make me change. Really, it was all the same. And I was always in a state of slightly better than moderate success. I wasn't gifted, I wasn't at the top of my class or anything, but I was doing okay. I just always felt like I was good. I was gonna be good. And it wasn't until after that things kind of started to go wrong. That it was all just, like I look back and I don't even really know what happened. But now I'm a different person. And I know that you grow and you change, but it's just a little bit insane to me because I haven't had such a shift ever, really. And I'm being told that these shifts are going to keep happening. You know, my religious beliefs are different. My political beliefs are different. The way I carry myself is different. My style is different. The people that I've talked to and I'm friends with, those kinds of people are different. I live in a different place. I do different things every day. My career is different from what I thought it would be. My relationships are different. My living situation is different. My finances are different. It's all changed from what it was and from what I thought it would be. And I don't know if I feel good or bad about these changes. Some of them are good. I feel like I want to say my political beliefs are good, but they're kind of not, because it's kind of stressful to be passionate about something that you have no control over. So I'm on the fence about that. And I would say that the way that I've grown in that I'm more comfortable meeting new people, I'm more comfortable talking to people. I'm slightly more comfortable asserting myself and like making boundaries with people. I'm just becoming a better relationship half, you know, a better friend, a better girlfriend, I'm just getting better at interacting with people. That's a good change, and not a change that I could have ever foreseen. Especially teenage me with all them hormones. I never would have thought that I would be able to just go out and meet people. Like that was just... So I've come a long way in some senses, a long way in a good way, but it's also like I've just had these disappointments, like college and jobs and my current career being kind of better than some people my age, but not what I want. So just kind of in a confused state of like, how long am I supposed to be a junior at my job for? Do I even want to do this? Or do I want to try to go back into animation? What's going on? Like, it's just processing weird. I don't feel like it's good, but I don't want to feel like it's bad. You know, like, okay, I'm not married. Or, you know, I'm not engaged. I'm not on the road to being married by 25. That's fine. I've pushed my realistic marriage date back from like 25, 26. I pushed it back to like 33. The way that dating is going for me. Maybe never. Maybe rich auntie, because it's not really giving. And I feel like it's good because I don't just settle for any old person specifically so that I can be married by a certain age. It's good that I can stand in my desires to like have a good person by my side. That's another thing that's changed. Marriage in my head, this little imagination was always gonna be this like frilly frou-frou flowers thing with just romance, just constant romance. It was gonna be like a little romance movie occurring in my mansion every day. But in reality, I've realized I'm growing and I'm learning that a relationship, really getting married is not the goal. It's more the outcome. And the goal is to find someone who you are at least relatively confident enough in that you think you could spend the rest of your life with them. And that's hard to find. So the fact that it's taking me more than, I didn't even start dating until I was 18. So the fact that it's taken me more than 6 or 7 years, that's okay. That's reasonable. It's a pretty big ask to find my husband, so I'm willing to give it a little bit more time. I don't know. Like I said, these TMI videos don't really have a conclusion. I haven't quite figured these things out yet. I just want an open space to talk about them. Like, it's crazy to me. Is it not crazy to y'all? how you had a plan 10 years ago that is absolutely not what your life is now. And now you have a plan for yourself 10 years in the future that probably will not be what your life is then. And it might not be that you failed. It might just be that you changed. And that you realized, hey, you know what? For the kind of partner that I'm looking for and for the quality of men that I'm being presented with, I'm not going to get married in time, and that's fine because I'd rather wait for better. It's realizing, hey, you know, I don't really know what I want to do with my career. I don't even really know if I want to have a career. I kind of don't like capitalism anymore. Don't like the idea of dedicating my life to doing a bunch of tasks I don't really want to do anyway. And I've realized that school and working are exactly the same. And since I hated school so much, it seems logical that I wouldn't really want to work for the next 40 years and that I would find a different solution. And so I'm still figuring out what I even want. Whereas me, K through 12, figuring out what career I wanted was my entire existence. That was kind of like the whole point. That was pretty much why I was in school, was to figure out what career I wanted. And now I'm like, do I even want a career? And that's a really big shift that I have not yet adjusted to the fact that I've made. Yeah. I feel like I'm getting redundant at this point, and I could go on forever. But it's just, you just grow. You just change as a person. Sometimes you become more bitter and more jaded, as I was following my breakup when I was just like, dog, you ain't in any of the cars with me and the man. It's just not gonna happen. And sometimes that mindset creeps back up because an incel will do something stupid. It'll show up on my timeline and I'm just like, see, this is why I'm just gonna get a dog and live alone. And sometimes you develop better habits, better skills, and that changes who you are and how you live. Sometimes it's new hobbies. Sometimes it's moving somewhere. It can be anything, but like, life, I was talking in the beginning about how, you know, once you hit 25, societally we're out of like milestones. There's nothing else for you to do. But actually living a life and not just looking at TV or what people told me life was going to be. This is kind of insane. Like, I am still figuring it out. And I'm probably still going to be figuring it out for at least another 10 or 20 years. Every day is a new opportunity to figure it out. And it's there's a lot to sift through. And even once I do figure it out and get the career and the man and the kids and the house and the fence, what if one day I wake up and realize I don't want that anymore? Kind of like I'm realizing with a career right now. Then I've made such a big shift that we're back at square one and life just keeps going this way. We just keep developing. And that's not really anything anybody told me was going to happen. That's not anything anybody prepared me for. It's pretty much just go to college. That's all they gave me. And I went to college and they didn't give me anything else. Now I'm having to give it all to myself. It's confusing. So yeah, I guess that's the moral of this video's story. Life is long, people change, and it's all confusing. I could keep going, like I said, but I don't want to keep you forever. So I'm gonna end this video. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you felt seen in this idea that this is a little ridiculous. And I'll see you all in the next TMI. Don't know what I want it to be. I'm thinking religion, but I feel saucy about making that video. Thank you for watching. Click some of my links. And please subscribe. Please. Please. It would be very rude if you didn't after I literally said please. It would be quite disrespectful. You know I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. You know the end of the year is in a few months. And you know I'm nowhere near 1,000 subscribers. So it would be kind of really rude if you didn't. Just saying. Okay. I'll see you guys in the next episode of TMI. I upload every Saturday. It won't be a TMI episode next week, but it'll be something. So I'll see you Saturday. Unless I won't. I'm going on vacation, so I might not upload next week. Just as like to give myself an honest break. But if I do upload, see you then. If not, subscribe so you can catch me when I come back. Alright? Bye.